Welcome to Friday, April 24th, 2020's Devotion for Troubled Times, or Hope for Troubled Times. So, as we are about a week from the declaration of our governor that we should go into a stay-at-home protective mode, I don't know if he's going to extend that at this point in time or if he's going to begin to reopen businesses or what he's going to do. But one of the things that I do want us to think about as a church and as a people is, now what? So we have been in this untenable state. We've been in stay at home, we've been in isolation, we've been hunkered down, and I know that I have heard and I have even said, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. And I want to challenge us on that today as we come together, that we don't want things to go back to normal. What we want is we want to move forward into God's will for us. And so moving forward into God's will is what I'm going to be looking at for the next little while, is what does it look like to move forward into God's will? And that means that we are going to embrace change. And that means that we are going to be willing to move where God would lead us. And I thought as a way of beginning this devotion, I would look at the Exodus. And I'm actually going to look sort of at the end of, or the potential end of the Exodus, when Moses has led the people out of Egypt. He's taken them to the mount. They have received the commandments. They've been organized. And finally, God says to them, okay, you've been here long enough. It's time for us to go and enter the promised land. I'm going to lead you up there. And then they go up to the borders of the promised land and they send in spies, and 10 of them come back with bad reports, and 2 of them come back with positive reports. All of them come back saying, yeah, it's a land flowing with milk and honey. All of them say, this is a beautiful land full of many wonderful fruits and vegetables and livestock and all of that kind of stuff. It's a good land, but it's also a land full of walled cities and giants, and there is no way we can go forward. So they're now on the border of the promised land. They've left Egypt, and they're trying to decide what to do. And in Numbers 14 we have this, and I just, this is the temptation all the time. Then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night, and all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt. You know, I think that the temptation for us is always to go back. We always look for this golden day in our past, and we all want to go back to something. Even if it's just going back to our youth, wouldn't it be nice to go back to high school, knowing what you know now, and going through high school, knowing the things that you know now? It would make that experience so much better. But going back has never really been an option for the people of God. We want to move forward into His promise. We want to move forward into what He has for us. And so as we think about coming out of this COVID-19 pandemic, and as we think about re-engaging life, I would encourage us not to think in terms of going back and just doing everything the way we used to do it. Instead, there are things that I think we have been learning in this time that I would encourage us to try and get a hold of and keep as a part of our lives and carry forward with us. There are possibly new things out there that God would have us to do that we have not yet reached. And so one of the things that I would encourage us to do is to prayerfully consider, Lord, where are you leading us? Where do you want us to go next? We've been trying to be faithful to you in this season. Now what do you want us to do? Jesus has promised that he would never leave us and he would never forsake us, which includes this time of trouble, this time of doubt and uncertainty. But he has also promised that he's a good shepherd who will lead us into green pastures and beside still waters. And we need to realize that God wants to lead us somewhere better than where we are right now. And I think it's important for us to think about that and to consider that. What are some of the things that God has led you into in this time that you need to continue? One of them that I would argue has been really good for each one of us, the church as a whole, and each of us as individuals, is a realization we're not in control. A realization that the government's not really in control. A realization that we need to trust more in God and less on our own resources. And so one of the things that I think has been happening in this time, and I may be wrong, if I am, I would be disappointed, but I think there has been more prayer in this season than there had been in the previous pre-COVID-19 season. And I don't want to go back to business as usual. I want us to be a people of prayer. God is leading us, and part of God's leading us is we need to be talking to him and asking him, what do you want? Show us the way forward. And so I would just really, really encourage you, instead of thinking, I can't wait for things to get back to the way they were, I would ask you to start thinking, God, where do you want to lead us tomorrow? What do you want for us? And then really trust him today. He'll take care of tomorrow. Today has enough trouble of its own. That's again from Matthew chapter 6. And so I would just really encourage you, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. Keep your eyes on him. Place your hands in his hands. And then say, Lord, where are we going? I just want to go with you. Well, God bless you as you go with Jesus today.